excuse me, and the assault on freedom of speech comes at the exact moment as we're aligning closer with China. And that's interesting. I can't, my stream won't go on X. It did go on YouTube, but it won't go on X and it won't go on Twitch this morning. So isn't that interesting? Error. So these things are being weird, and maybe it is just a coincidence, but who knows? There's a new Star Trek series, and it's terrible. Obviously, I think all of the new videos and movies and a lot of the new shows, and even shows that start out promising, very very quickly turn into garbage, chock full of woke nonsense. UK is increasing the military reserves by increasing the maximum call-up age to 65 years old, and that's pretty wild. So 64 years old, you're going to the Ukrainian trenches, buddy. Have fun. How are they going to deal with this aging population without? Do they have MAID? Did the MAID thing pass in the United Kingdom? I thought they were trying for that. They'll just send them to the trenches to die instead of killing them in hospital beds. Carney motorboats the crap out of China. EV deals, canola deal, security deal, new world order. Honestly, when I saw the video, and I'm sure you've already seen the video, when I saw it, I thought, this is AI. And then I found out that it was real. And, well, that's just terrifying. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Mark Carney is in China, and he is aligning Canada more closely with China. And that is very, very concerning indeed, because, well, a lot of people don't want to align more closely with China. And Cheryl says, Canadian flags flew over Tiananmen Square on Thursday as the Prime Minister was received by Chinese Premier Li Qiang at Beijing's Great Hall of the People. So he wasn't met by Xi Jinping. He went to the Great Hall and had a little ceremony. So people were saying there was no fanfare when Carney got there, but there was fanfare. Again, it's the communist regime of China, and there's a whole lot of history here that's not being dealt with. In fact, it looks like Carney's going to kowtow, and he says, we love Xi's leadership. We love everything you're doing. We love everything about China. This, don't stop it. And we're ready to hang out with you guys in the New World Order. And he says it in the most creepy, ridiculous way. Again, I thought this was AI. Scott Moe's face is hilarious. Everybody's talking about Scott Moe's reaction to this. Table Salt says, I've obtained new crystal clear video of Mark Carney saying Canada is entering a new world order today in Beijing. Saskatchewan Premier Moe visibly recoils as the words come out of Carney's mouth. And then there's like a regular speed version, and then she slows it down. But you don't need to slow it down. Mark Carney says it so slowly, you can't mistake what he's saying. Here we go.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Right, the partnership we've made with China for security and a whole bunch of other things. Terrible. USMCA effectively died the moment Scott Moe reacted to Carney's New World Order remark. And so Scott Moe's head kind of shoots up and looks over, and he's like, what the?
This up well for the new world order.
It's like watching a coordinated movie or something like that. Like, and I wonder what Moe will say. Kian Bexty says, I reached out to Scott Moe's office to see if he condones the comments he was nodding along to. Here's what his office said. Premier Moe will continue to advocate for the best possible outcomes for Canada and Saskatchewan when it comes to trade between the two countries. Premier Moe does not vet the Prime Minister's comments. And so Premier Moe doesn't get to control what the Prime Minister said, but he heard what you heard, and his response was, well, caught on video. So, yoicks. Ivor Cummings says, Mark Carney didn't misspeak. He didn't stumble over words. He stood in China and very deliberately said that Canada's partnership with the CCP sets us up well for a new world order. The phrase isn't accidental. It's not poetic stuff or poetic fluff. It's a term that's been whispered behind closed doors for decades, dismissed as a conspiracy theory every time regular people noticed global institutions consolidating power, erasing borders, sidelining national sovereignty, and replacing voters with technocrats. And now we have a prime minister saying it out loud on foreign soil next to an authoritarian regime. When people warned about a new world order, this is exactly what they meant. Unelected elites reshaping global power structures while pretending it's progress. When Carney says the world has changed, what he means is that democratic consent is now an inconvenience. When he says partnership, what he means is alignment. And when he says new world order, he's not talking about prosperity for Canadians. He's talking about a system where decisions are made above your head and far away from your vote. If this were anyone else saying it, the media would be in a full-blown meltdown. No, the media does what they're told. They dance to the drum of the globalist beat. But because it is said calmly in a suit with banker confidence, we're supposed to nod along and trust the process. No questions, no skepticism, no alarms. People were mocked for years for warning this moment was coming, and now it's here, not whispered, not leaked, but openly declared. That should terrify every Canadian who still believes this country belongs to its citizens and not a new world order designed without them. So yeah, pretty scary stuff. And he's highlighting this exchange as well. Is this longer? I don't think this is longer. There is another Carney video where he's praising. This isn't it. Chris says, does anyone else, we'll get there in a sec. Chris says, does anyone else remember when Mark Carney's campaigned on checks notes, partnering with China's communist government to set up well for the new world order? What is he talking about? Oh, you know what he's talking about. Michelle Rempel says, this is the different video I wanted to show you, and I'll blow my nose while that happens. Michelle Rempel says, does new world order equal not communist versus communist, free speech versus state-controlled internet, free movement versus social credit scores? This was a deeply disturbing comment. Things just got really real for Canada. Giddy up. The funny thing is, though, Michelle Rempel is the highest brass politician I've found talking about this. Everybody else is quiet. No premiers, no statement from Mo, no statement from anybody else. Ford, nobody's talking about this. And Pierre Poilievre, crickets. Is Maxime Bernier said anything? I haven't seen. Here is a different video of the New World Order, but he doesn't say New World Order. This is the Juno News clip. Here we go.
We're heartened by the leadership of President Xi Jinping and the speed with which our relationship has progressed in recent months. This sets the stage for these important discussions on a wide range of issues where we can be strategic partners, from energy to agriculture, to people ties, to multilateralism, to issues on security. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Good. This was the longer one. And so he's saying we love the cheese thing. We love everything you're doing. We're everything, China, security partnerships, all this stuff. I don't remember voting for any of that. He wasn't saying, listen, we're going to poke the United States in the eye and we're going to align ourselves with China in a new world order. I don't remember that from the last election. Do you? Here's George Bush Sr., and that's H.W. Bush, right? George W. Bush was the 2000s Bush. George H.W. Bush was the younger Bush, or the older Bush. And so here's George H.W. Bush, the older Bush, talking about New World Order. This has been around for a long time. I think strongly that they established a world order by putting puppets in place. Bush was a senior player in that process. Carney's a senior player. Trudeau was a person who needed a handler. Chrystia Freeland was the handler. She's now handling Zelensky. These people are chess pieces on a board being moved by globalists, and we are the victims. We're paying for it all. Anyway, here's George H.W. Bush talking about the New World Order.
Of its founders.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new when we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Oops. The promise and vision of the UN's founders. How about the promise and vision of the American founding fathers, their vision? How about that fruition, bringing that one to fruition? Or the Canadian founding fathers? How about bringing that vision to fruition? But instead, we're doing the UN vision, and that's the UN's. They're not good people. Those UN people. Bruce says, remember when Justin Trudeau said he admires China because of their basic dictatorship? He also referred to Canada as a post-national state. The New World Order is just a conspiracy theory, guys. So that was a while ago. Link is in the description if you want to watch it. I can't stand listening to Trudeau, so we'll continue on. But trust me, he said he admires China because of their basic dictatorship. Here is Chris, and he says, This is asinine. The current Prime Minister of Canada is advocating a strategic partnership with Communist China. TikTok, Canadian Prime Minister, because soon you're going to get the Greenland treatment? Probably. Table Salt said something is wrong in Canada, okay? We went from this in 2023, or this 2023 report, which concluded that China, quote, undermines our democratic institutions and our fundamental rights and freedoms, to Mark Carney discussing security with the Communist Party of China in under 2 years. Yeah, so like this is, the Juno News is saying today in Beijing, Mark Carney says he is heartened by the leadership of the Chinese dictator, and that Canada and Communist China can be strategic partners, including on issues of security. How does that happen in 2 years? I don't think that the threat profile of China changes in 2 years, especially when the United States, I think just today had the CIA released a way for Chinese whistleblowers to contact the CIA directly to inform them of what's going on. So I find that very interesting as well. Mark Carney says, thank you, Premier Li, for the warm welcome to Beijing. Our countries align in many areas, such as clean energy, agriculture, and finance. We focus on how Canada and China can work together to build stronger, more sustainable economies for both our nations. Learn Cantonese? Really? Like, this is not a solution to the United States being hard to trade with, or for the USMCA being up for renegotiation or up for review. This is not the solution. In fact, this probably does a lot of damage to our ability to meaningfully renegotiate that with the Trump team, because he's trying to isolate China and have leverage, and maybe not isolate, but have leverage against China, and to leverage that for maximum American benefit. And us doing this undermines the security stuff that we did when we, there's an EV deal that's part and parcel of this, that we agreed to under the Biden administration. And I don't know that there's been any instruction from the United States that states that circumstance has changed. It doesn't seem like it has changed. So I think this is a very dangerous situation that Canada finds itself in, because Mark Carney's an idiot. And so they keep telling us he's the smartest guy in the room. Seems like a globalist to me. Here he's talking about meeting with Xi Jinping. He says, it's a pleasure to meet with Xi Jinping. Canada and China are forging a new strategic partnership. We're leveraging our strengths, focusing on trade, energy, agriculture, seafood, and other areas where we can make massive gains for both of our people. Both of these tweets leave out the security partnership. I wonder why. Mike says, there's nothing quite like getting in bed with your number one security threat. Canada is in a death spiral. Donald Trump, Marco Rubio need to keep a close eye on Canada and China. Yeah, I don't think that's wrong at all. Here is Mel Jolie, and she's answering a reporter's question saying, listen, my burner phone's kind of a pain in the ass, and we've never had to do this when we've gone to the United States. And Jolie pivots and says, listen, we understand that this isn't perfect. We understand that we have to have open, clear eyes, and we have open, clear eyes. And she doesn't address anything at all.
Ask a general question about investing in China. There's a ton of experts we've spoken to in the business community in Canada who are gun shy about investing in China. Joint ventures aren't such. It's China win. It's not win-win. We're using burner phones for the first time when we covered this because China spies on journalists and businessmen. China intercepts communications. Is China really the right kind of partner for Canadian industry?
Listen, we've been clear-eyed. We're eyes wide open. We know this. But there's been investments by Canadian companies for years here. Tomorrow I'm meeting with Magna. Magna, one of the biggest auto parts companies in the world. They have 30,000 people working here. We're meeting with Manulife. We're meeting with BMO. These companies have been in China for years.
Manulife? BMO? All this money's been in China for years and years and years, and this is fine? Or is this a concern that our money's being devalued and the stock markets and the silver markets are being manipulated, and it's all hand in glove? It's so integrated that we can't even understand it? Oh yeah, well now we're doing deals with China. Burner phone, schmurner phone, Manulife does business here. So, okay, but that doesn't really answer our question. Is this really the kind of thing that we want to be getting in bed with and ignoring the United States? And the answer is, next question. Stephen Taylor says, if your New World Order starter kit includes burner phones, I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to be part of that order. Yeah. Right, exactly. So New World Order, and we're spying on you, yes. So you'll have to use your burner phones. Here is CBC Watcher. This is a different video clip of the same thing. I think this one doesn't include the New World Order, and CBC and Rebel News. Rebel News is one cut away. No, it cut away from Mo's reaction, which I thought was the funniest part of the whole thing. Anyway, Carney is heartened while he embraces the security threat. We're heartened by the leadership of Xi Jinping and the speed with which our relationship has progressed in recent months. And here again is the reminder that Mark Carney was saying in early 2025 that China is the biggest threat to Canada.
Mr. Carney?
Well, we're in a security section. I think we didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
China, you say?
Yeah.
Robust. Again, there's nothing to it. Yeah, China, you say. Yep. Next question. I think we're going to do big deals with China. Big deals. Kate says, strikes me that Canada linking arms with a strategic partner that practices hostage diplomacy, interferes in our elections, and limits free speech and assembly as part of nothing less than a new world order is something many Canadians may want to vote on, right? Do you want this, Canada man? No? Well, I don't know that we're voting our way out of this, because look at what's going on in England and Australia, right? And Trump's trying to turn the corner on this, or trying to push back on this, and every man and his dog around the world are saying that what Trump is doing is terrible, and what Canada is doing is, just pretty well just fine. Melissa says Canada has agreed to remove punitive tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and allowed up to 49,000 units annually under a preferential rate. Canada to remove 100% tariffs on Chinese EV imports. That's going to get a call from Trump. Calling it now. In 3 days, Canada is going to restore the EV tariffs, or Canada is going to be annexed while the United States Army is on the way to annexing Greenland. Okay? Because you can't, Trump said the other day, we can't have China as occupying Greenland. That's not going to happen. So China can't occupy Canada. And I don't think Trump's going to let that happen. We'll see, but that's my prediction. Maybe not that quick, but I'd like it to be that quick. But if it's that quick, it's going to disrupt my chocolate cereal. So Holly Doan says the government of Canada corporate, what's this one? Global Affairs Canada, Minister Anita Anand announces new foreign policy that encourages Canadians to get to know the People's Republic of China. Just get to know them, Announcement comes 5 years after MPs voted unanimously to condemn China for crimes against humanity. Don't read anything about the Uyghurs. Don't read too much into that whole dictatorship, but get to know the People's Republic of China. Yikes. The people of British Columbia know the Chinese people very well, I think. Wealth Moose, is that a faux pas? Am I not allowed to say that? Wealth Moose says, here's what China has already done inside of Canada. Citizens have been taken hostage. Election interference, at least 10. CSIS says every government since Mulroney has been compromised by China. And that's open. You can go watch that video right now if you want to. Nobody seems to care. Everybody's like, yeah, whatever. China, Schmina, there's no risk here. Yeah, come fish in our waters. Sure, come and occupy our political offices. Sure, come on in and we'll give you entire cities as enclaves. No problem. Here you go. Weird. Entire provinces as enclaves. Illegal Chinese police stations exposed on Western soil. Ongoing national security threats. This isn't ancient history. It's a warning sign. And this is the regime the Canadian government wants to deepen trade relations with, while we, again, poke our biggest trading partner in the eye. China represents 5% of trade. America represents 80% of trade. And we're saying, F you, Americans. We're going to go hang out with these communists over here because they're so much cooler. And it seems really stupid. Seems like a stupid idea. Mark Carney again says, thank you, Chairman Zhao Li, for the constructive meeting today in Beijing. Canada and China have a long-standing relationship that has created opportunities for the people of both our countries. In a more divided, uncertain world, we're focused on renewing that relationship and building towards a stronger future. Maybe. Probably not, though. Doesn't seem all that good. Roman Babber says the Chinese Communist Party has 2 million Muslims in labor camp. The liberals and left pretend that's not happening, while Canada or the Canadian media is fear-mongering of a U.S. invasion. I lived in the USSR for almost 9 years. Canadians are now subject to Soviet-level lies. I don't disagree. And I think that that's true and been true for a while. Do you remember COVID? Sean says, why wouldn't the president of the United States, why wouldn't Trump annex Canada? Seriously, we are being governed by corrupt, treasonous traitors who are hell-bent on destroying our nation for their own personal gains. Bring it on. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, I don't think Trump... So when Trump talked about Denmark and Greenland, people were saying, he can't be serious. He can't be. He's joking. It's a joke. And I said, oh, he's serious, and don't call me Shirley. And when they talked about Canada, when he talked about Canada, he's just as serious about that. And people don't get it, and that's fine. They can not get it. I'm trying to how do you maximize this? I miss silver. I don't have nearly enough silver for all of this. I thought to myself, I should go get more silver when it was still $25 and $30. And I didn't. And I feel bad about it, but I didn't have enough. And I have some silver, but not nearly enough silver for all this, right? So anyway, I'd need a vault. It would need to be like Scrooge McDuck sized vault where I can swim in my silver. Although I've heard people with safes full of silver are very happy with the silver price these days. Anyway, why wouldn't Donald Trump annex Canada? Because we're acting stupid. I can't think of one reason why he wouldn't want to do this. There's all the incentives for Donald Trump to take over Canada, because Canada, it doesn't seem like the Canadian citizens will be able to dislodge this rot from our own government at any level. So at this point in time, given the option of China or the United States, because it doesn't look like staying sovereign Canada is an option, it's China or the United States. I would choose the United States. Concerned Canadian says, I urge you to review this and form your own opinion on the validity of the New World Order depopulation agenda. I actually haven't watched this video, so I don't know if it's very good. He usually shares pretty good videos, but we're going to keep moving on because we've got lots of other show to come. But it's very, very concerning because the New World Order keeps popping up. And again, I think it's just a matter of control. It's a situation where the people who are the step back that are actually running things, the Group of 300, the Club of Rome, whatever you want to call them, the globalist deep state, whatever you want to call them, they're a step back, and establishing a world order or a new world order is we have control of all of the puppets and they'll do what we say. And if the people rise up and get the pitchforks and really, really get pissed off at the politicians will suffer the consequences. Then the people will put in a new government, and then we'll buy them, and it'll be the same new boss, same as the old boss. That's the plan, rinse and repeat. And that's what they do. And so they step back, they establish a world order, they wait for it to collapse while running havoc and creating situations where they can have more and more control. And you can see the different levels of control in Xi Jinping's China versus Donald Trump's America. But even in Trump's America, there's censorship. Even in Canada, there's lots and lots of censorship, way more censorship than you are aware of. And that's scary, 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 scary. So it is, it's concerning. And I don't know that we're going to be able to chart a way out of this. So again, if the United States can free Canada from the grip of this globalist cabal, then I'm for it with caveats. Mario says, Carney says that Muslim values are Canadian values, but China does the following to Muslim Uyghurs: forced sterilization, birth control to lower the Uyghur birth rates, cultural and religious suppression, destruction of mosques, restrictions on religious practices, and forced assimilation into Chinese culture, mass detentions, possibly over 1 million. Uyghurs have been detained in re-education camps, forced labor, forced to work in factories under coercive conditions, intense surveillance, monitoring of Uyghur communities. How do Carney supporters reconcile this? Is this new world order and partnership he speaks about? Yes. Yep. Carney wants to be able to do all of these things to citizens he deems ne'er-do-wells or people who are not conducive to the public good, throw them in a concentration camp, and that'll solve the problem, right? Unbelievably, but that's what he wants. Eyes on Unacceptable says, the invaluable Holly Doan has ferreted out a Heritage Ministry memo saying the CBC is vital because it promotes social cohesion in Canada, and which worries that some Canadians have disengaged with the government messaging. I suppose if you live in the Ottawa bubble long enough, you might come to believe that the CBC is somehow relevant. Viewership numbers suggest otherwise. Overall, CBC TV has a 4.4 audience share and CBC News a 2.1. Now that is English language side. Radio Canada has better numbers, but an engine for social cohesion, anything for social cohesion, anything with less than 5% share is pretty pathetic. Then again, the very idea of promoting social cohesion is flawed from the get-go. Social cohesion, insofar as it exists at all, is an emergent result. You either have it or you don't. The old Canada, coming out of the Depression and World War II, had it. You could walk into a bar and find a conversation about hockey, how awful the banks were, how the weather, how the harvest was going, where the fish were running. That was the male side. The ladies had their own topics: church, schools, kids, shopping, husbands. We would not walk into a bar. Mixed company had its own conventions, beginning with no salty language, ladies present. There were certain assumptions. Men worked and were the breadwinners for their family, and women were at home and responsible for raising the children. Everyone was notionally Christian, church-going or not. Boomers trashed those assumptions. They were all, after all, profoundly patriarchal. Really? Seriously? Basically, he's talking about the changes in society and saying that we've lost social cohesion, and CBC is not a good driver of it. But I don't want to blame boomers. Again, I think the West was bribed fundamentally in order to abandon its values for this new flashy kind of modernism, and we had the wool pulled over our eyes. And with that, I've got to say goodbye to the stream. We're already a bit long with that. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. I'll be around tomorrow and